All right, guys, Burse's part 2. We're actually going to put this thing together now. So in the last video, I talked about what kind of pieces you're going to want to cut out. And now I'm going to go over the pieces. All right. So right here, I have my billow. All right. Unfortunately, all my pieces are already kind of finished. So basically, this billow was one long piece. I've put it right side to right side and stitched it right here, okay, at the end, my seam allowance. And then I pressed it out, pressed my seam open, and then you turn this guy around like this. Oh, it's always hard to do stuff one-handed. All right, so now I've taken my seam end here, all right, and I folded it on my seam end. This is easier to show you here. Okay, on my seam end, okay, and then I've pressed it flat. So you actually end up, let me measure this thing. You end up with a piece that's like like 6 1/4 inches by 5 inches, okay, folded in half and finished at the end, okay. This finish end is always going to go, it's going to go to the back of our burst board, all right? But that's how you prep your billows, okay? You took 14-inch by 5-inch pieces, we folded them in half, stitched it, pressed it, turned it inside out, and now we have this nice little pocket guy, okay? All right. And like I said before, you're going to take I'm doing a split one in this video, so I have 10.5-inch pieces by 10-inch pieces, okay? And here is what they look like when you put them together, okay? So here you can see that I have this orphrey banding. So I prepped this piece before I even started, okay? I have my nice orphrey banding, and then this edge is where I sewed on my lining. So this will be on the inside of the burst board, and this will be on the outside. Now this is the other burst board piece, which is the inside of the burst board and the outside. So these two pieces will face each other like a sandwich on the inside, and this will be on the outsides of the burst board. Now the reason that this works out so well for a piece that has orphrey banding like this is because our orphrey banding, you know, it has to end somewhere. And if you have this nice seam here, then it ends right at the tip of the burst board, and it looks like you did that intentionally. It looks really pretty. Otherwise, what you're going to have to do is, if this was all one color, you're going to have to take this orphrey banding from here all the way to here. And or if you stop it short, then you got to finish the edge somehow. I just did this with the set of burses, and I felt really stupid at the end of it. Like, why did I do that? I didn't like the way that ended at all. I ended up having to take them apart, put banding on it. I mean, just doing all this nonsense just to make it look professional and nice, okay? So avoid that. Just do a split burse if you're wanting to put orphrey banding on your burse, okay? So here we go. This would be considered the right side of the orphrey, or I'm sorry, the right side of the burst fabric, right? This is going to be our finished edge. So what I've done is I've laid my burst board on my finished edge here. I go up against this back, and I've marked it with my little soap piece. I like soap better than chalk. It doesn't, it's not as finicky. All right, I marked the right side of the board with that. That'll come in handy later. I've also marked, once I've sewn my pieces together, okay, I have also marked, sorry, okay, I've also marked my burst board on the wrong side of the fabric where I'm going to be sewing. I need to have sewing lines because, as you can see, the seam allowance is a little larger than what you would normally have. There's a reason for that. But for now, it's sufficient to say that it's, you know, these marks really give me the outline of where my board is going to be. So I'm going to stitch along these lines, okay? They also work well. So this is the right side of my fabric. And our next step is going to be the billows. So we've prepared our billows, right? This end here is going to be the back end of our burse. So we want to make sure our billows are all the way to the back end of the burse board. All right, so we have marked our line. So I laid my burse board out, right? I centered it, and then I marked my line. Now I'm going to use that line to place my billows. I like to place them just a tad bit, not a lot, just ever so slightly above that line, okay? And then what we're going to do, and I've pinned it, you can see here, because I don't want these things shifting around when I now close this, okay, because I've got to fiddle with it some. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this up. I'm going to pin it, okay. I'm going to close it really nice and make sure it's all flat and straight and all that kind of stuff, okay. And then I'm going to pin it here again. And I'm going to stitch down my lines. Now, understand that this guy here has got to be able to slip in. So you're going to be careful not to stitch it too tight on that line, but then you don't want it like wobbling around and being loose in there either. So, you know, it's going to take some effort. It's going to take a little bit of time. If you stitch the wrong line and find it's too loose, you can stitch one line in. It's not going to make a difference. You won't have to take out your original line. It's not any more work. So always better to start off a little bit wider and bring our line inward than it would be to take it too far in and then have to take stitches out because your burst board won't slip in the pocket here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my pinning, and I'm going to stitch it, and then I will get back with you. So hold on just a minute. All right, I'm back. So we have my finished bottom of my burse. Okay, like bottom burse board pocket done. Okay, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so what I've done is I flipped it, you know, and I straightened it out real nice here. Now, if you look really great, I'm going to put this next to each other, okay? Let me look up here, if you guys can see. Do you see how this pattern goes off, and this pattern is centered on my lines, okay? Hopefully you can see why as aggravating as it is, I ended up having to redo that. Okay. So now I have my pins that I'm going to take out, and I stitched my lines along my soap line. Okay, let's try out our burst board here. Is it going to fit? Looks like it will. Really nicely. Okay, so now I'm going to let me make sure, because I really hate to have to go back and redo things once I've already gotten stuff worked out. My question is, for myself, is this burst board going to be tight enough in here? Like, is it gonna be snug? Okay. Sorry. Okay, so no, it's not going to be snug, but it is going to fit in there nicely. Like, it's not, see, it's not wiggling around. There's not a lot of leeway there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn this guy inside out. Hold on one second. I need two hands. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So I flipped it inside out. This is what my new piece, looks like. This will be the back board. All right. Now the question would be, can I do, you know, which side should I do first, right? Well, in my opinion, especially if you have this Orphrey banding here, you want to do this one second because this guy doesn't give very much, all right? And you don't want to be folding and twisting and crumpling that. So it's easier to do the side that doesn't have embroidery on it or doesn't have any sort of like stiff banding, okay? Because what we're going to do now is we're going to place this guy. This is where it gets tricky, guys. Okay, we're going to place this guy along our bottom edge again, like this, you know, like this. I'm going to pin it along my line, and I'm going to pin the other one along my line, and then I'll come back and I'll show you. Okay, I'm done pinning, and I'm going to show you this. So on the second part of putting the billows in, all right, we've done the back board pocket, adding the billows, closing it up, and now we're attaching it to the front board pocket. Oh, shoot, I did this wrong. Hold on. All right, goes to show, it doesn't matter how many times you do a burse, doesn't matter how experienced you are, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to have to go back and fix them. So what I had done is I had, here, normally, if you're doing this two-sided deal, okay, you want your red to be to your red, and then your silver to be to your silver, like this, okay? So, you know, silly me, I had the red facing up, and I just looked at it and suddenly realized what a silly mistake that was. I wanted to correct it. So now I have on my right side of my fabric, I have marked the bottom of where my burst board is, okay, here and here, just like I did on the back piece. And I've lined up my billows. See this? But see how this has to like fold over onto itself? So these are exactly on the edge and right there the same distance from my chalk line or my soap line as I had before, okay? So my next step will be to close this over, and you're going to have to fiddle with this some to make sure it comes down, you know, nice and tight and exactly lined up and all that kind of stuff, because this is bulk. This bulky will keep, you know, will press this up. And you don't want this pocket to be looser just because you've got this bulk in here, okay? So I'm going to fiddle with this. I am going to pin it, and then I'm going to stitch just like I did my other one, okay? And then we'll be right back. Okay, so I have pinned. I actually pinned on this side, but I have pinned it. I have stitched it according to my lines. Now I'm going to take everything out and turn it inside out. Okay. And this is going to be fabulous. Hold on one second. Moving on to the last part, before we insert our boards and begin the closing up process, because that's going to be the last video. I'm going to do that second. And I apologize, it's so back and forth. I don't have any of my older daughters here to like film me actually doing all this stuff. So as you know, most sewing is done with two hands, and I'm holding a phone with one of them. So okay, I'm going to show you here. I have taken out my pins. I've flipped it inside out and revealed my two pockets. Okay, so I have two pockets here. See this? My back pocket and then my front pocket. Okay, and you can see my billows are neatly sewn into both of them. All right, so what I have done is I have it face to face, all right, revealing the inside. You have to do this part without burst boards in it, okay? So what I do is I line it up like this, and I take my billows and I press them, and I press a really nice crease into both of my billows, okay? Otherwise, you're going to be trying to get a crease in there once the boards are in, and once it's all closed up, it's just not going to work very well, okay? Then the other thing I learned to do a long time ago was at the back end. Remember, this is our back end. Okay, this is the front edge of our burse, and this will be the back end of our burse. Okay, on the back end, I go ahead and I stitch very carefully my billow together just at the back end. Okay, it's going to keep this piece inside of your burse board very neatly and nice. I used to be try to, when I was closing up my burse board, try to like hook this in somehow. I don't have to do that now that this is stitched back. Okay, it doesn't have to be included in your hand stitched edge because this is going to be now on the inside. So now that I've pressed this, did a neat little stitch in here, did a neat little stitch in here, I'm going to turn this guy inside out. And voila, we have this guy ready to go to put our boards in and to finish up the edge. So we'll do that on the next video. Thanks for watching.